Good day. My name is Graham, and if it's possible I want to introduce to the Western world in particular to our democracies of freedom and liberation that used to be. I want to introduce a new idea for democracy, an evolved version of democracy called Co-opracy. C-O-O-P-R-A-C-Y. I know it's not communism, it's not socialism. It's based on some very simple humanistic principles that democracy was originally founded on. The idea that humans have an intrinsic commonality. They have a right to question everything. But also they have a right to an education which allows them to question everything in a way that gives them insight to what is actually going on. Well, co-opracy is something basically as simple as that. But what it is, it's about looking at the democratic process from a more knowledgeable and wise system, rather than the totally divisive one that the corporate structures have created over the last 30 years or so. Along with co-opracy is a new economic or fiscal system, if you like, that's called sliding scale fiscal economic systems. Originally, the wonderful treasurer of Australia, Paul Keating, the only decent politician they've had in this country since I've been here for 50 years, came up with the idea of a sliding scale economy, and he was quite right. Now, I have been working on the idea of marrying capitalism and the need to look after the social growth and the poor for nearly 50 years. 1969 I began on this venture, and now I'm ready to try to explain it step by step to the Western world. What the rest of the world, the non-democratic world, does, that's entirely up to us. But because the Western world is under threat from the corporate system, which has made property acquisition the assets of the people, in other words, its main aim of the game, we need a counter system to that, a counterbalancing system to that, if you like, what allows politicians, so it's politically neutral, so allows politicians to create a sort of an equation, a positively applicable equation that is practically in essence, in that it allows the whole of society to gain from the whole of the productive currency system, not just a greater and greater amount of gain into the corporate sector, whilst there's less and less to be spread between the growing hordes of unemployed and the poorer sector. Because governments have no plans to deal with this other than carry on the way they have, so they're inflating the price of rents, amazingly inflating the price of electricity. And these two things alone, rents and electricity, if you add them together, they compound what I call inflationary negatives. If you add with that the idea, the advent of this so-called left, which is the greatest lie ever created in politics, that there's actually a left, and there's not. They work for the corporate systems, and we can plenty of research on the net all about that. The idea about equality, and that they so stand for, they're not into equality, they're into creating sameness and blandness through compliance, so people are compliant enough to work within the corporate bureaucratic system, whether that's in business or whether that's in government. It makes no difference. If you're a compliant person and you can press a few buttons and work a computer and sit around in an office and be part of that system, and you're compliant and politically correct and say the right things to the right people, if you have no actual personality of your own anymore, because it's been driven out. Then you're fit for this new corporate system that the left and the right, they're in it together, have planned for the Western democracies, and they're using many diversions like Islam or anything. Climate change is another one. These are diversions to create fear. Not only create fear, as what's our politics has driven for years anyway, but that's to create fear, and to also as a means of shortfalling the population of the material it needs to fulfill its own basic requirements. Co-opracy and sliding scale fiscal economic systems are simply a means of creating a more humane system over a gradual period of time. It's about 12 years to begin to establish this, and there are emotional reasons for that. About 17 years to accumulate enough generic empathy towards this system to then allow the Western people to enter what would be the leisure age, if you like, which means that the work is shared across the population, about 20 hours a week, if you like, because robots are going to take up an awful lot of jobs. But we need to keep, people need to be sort of employed as well. There's no point thinking we can all sit around and do nothing while robots do everything, or a lot of people sit in offices getting paid awful amounts of money when robots could basically, and computers would reduce the need for most of them sitting in offices right now through this software program. So I'm only going to keep these small talks to the minimum, because that's how the YouTube allows me on 15 minutes. But this sliding scale systems means that for things like healthcare, housing, basic systems like electricity costs and stuff like that, things what people all need in common, doesn't matter how rich you are or poor you are, you need electricity to keep your kids warm. You need a health system to help you keep healthy, although that's personally up to you to keep healthy, not the government or the system. That's how co-opracy is. You cooperate with the better nature of humanity instead of catering to the fears and the weaknesses of humanity, which is what this system now does. And this allows then, by creating an equation that takes care of the fiscal system, that is a distribution system, so that there'll be slightly less subsidy of the big corporations, the private corporations, and that subsidy, which is reduced over a period of time, no one gets any poorer out of this, because in fact mathematically everyone gets richer whilst all of society benefits. That's the beauty of this. It's called evolutionary economics, or applying the idea of evolution in a Christian manner, if you like, to society, because you can be an evolutionist and also be a sort of a, if you like, you can sort of admire what Jesus was saying, if you like. So the two are not necessarily separate items. Neither, by the way, as any intelligent Muslim will suggest, is either between Muhammad and evolution either, because all intelligent Muslims I've spoken to agree we need to evolve to adapt to the systems and the times. So the idea of having an evolutionary economic system is not anathema to any sort of religion or anyone who's got the idea that humanity at its basis needs to have at least a level of subsistence. That means that people aren't prone to go into crime, aren't prone to end up on the street, aren't prone to freeze to death in winter to save the planet, and all the sort of strange things that are going on now. This means, the system means there'll be flexible retirement ages, 22-hour weeks. People will not retire later and later as it is required. It will depend on how many hours they work during their life. It will depend on the type of occupation they've had. People will not be made homeless by the acquisition of massive amounts of property by monopolies. We're going to take care of that by simplifying, it's not making houses affordable, it's making the cost structures of the upkeep of service people, low income people affordable. That's how we begin to reform the democratic system. So when we vote for something real, not something pretentious, which is all you vote for right now. But this is the first of a series of videos that I will put together to try and help people understand there is a new system. It's called Co-opracy and sliding scale fiscal economic systems. And my name's Graham Thomas, and or whatever mad videos I've put on the internet before, because of what's happening in Australia in particular and in the UK, and I love both these countries equally, and what's happening in America. I feel for the Western people at the moment very strongly, and I think Mr. Trump, I suggested maybe he does as well. He seems to, how it turns out for him, I hope him the best of luck. But in Britain and in Australia there seems to be a bit of a struggle at the moment because of some out of sync understanding of what capitalism is, and forgetting the basic principles written down by Adam Smith. And this co-opracy and sliding scale economics really is basically an intellectual approach, reappraisal of what Adam Smith moral philosophies was based in. Thank you. This is saying good night, bye for now.